It began as an ordinary night on the red carpet, a night filled with glittering gowns, flashing cameras, and the kind of anticipation only the royal variety performance can generate. But nobody expected the storm that would erupt before the first note of music played. The whispers started almost immediately. Meghan Markle was attempting something audacious, something unprecedented, something that could throw an entire evening of British pageantry into chaos. And at the center of it all was Jason Manford, the comedian and host, who would soon find himself facing a decision that would shock everyone watching. The question on everyone's lips was simple but electrifying. Could one man really block Meghan Markle from gaining access to one of the most prestigious stages in the country? Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. The story that would unfold was more than a simple tale of celebrity mischief. It was a collision of ambition, power, and raw human emotion. Imagine the scene. The London streets buzzing with limousines, fans clutching tickets like golden keys, and paparazzi poised like hawks, cameras ready to immortalize every moment. Amidst the crowd, Meghan's team moved with quiet intensity, plotting to ensure that their client would not be denied her spot on the red carpet. Her strategy was bold, almost reckless. She wasn't just attending a performance. She was attempting a carefully orchestrated public appearance, one that would dominate headlines and flood social media feeds. Yet, as history would soon reveal, even the best-laid plans can be intercepted by unexpected forces. At this point, Jason Manford wasn't just a host. He was an obstacle, an unmovable object in Meghan's path. But why him? Why would a comedian, someone whose primary role is to entertain, intervene in such a high-stakes scenario? The answer lies in the delicate balance between protocol and celebrity influence. Royal events like this aren't just performances. They are meticulously choreographed social rituals, where timing, access, and decorum reign supreme. When Meghan attempted to hunt her ticket at the last minute, she wasn't just breaking protocol. She was challenging the system, and Jason, with his keen awareness and sense of responsibility, saw that challenge coming. The red carpet, usually a place of glamour and celebration, quickly transformed into a battleground. Photographers jostled for prime angles. Flashes illuminated anxious faces, and every step Meghan took seemed to escalate the tension. You could almost feel the collective gasp of the crowd as whispers of her attempt spread. How far would she go to secure her presence? Would the security staff intervene? And most importantly, how would Jason respond when he realized the magnitude of what was happening? The answer would soon shock the audience and set the stage for a series of events that nobody, not even those behind the scenes, could have predicted. From the moment she appeared, Meghan was a figure both magnetic and polarizing. There was an aura of inevitability about her, as though the cameras themselves had been waiting for her. But behind that poised exterior was a whirlwind of strategy, calculation, and a touch of desperation. Sources later described the scene with incredulity. Staff members were scrambling to keep her under control. Her team was whispering urgently into earpieces, and somewhere in the chaos, Jason Manford was preparing to make a decision that would define the night. He understood that the royal variety performance wasn't just another celebrity event. It was a sacred tradition, a performance steeped in history, and a stage where rules were not meant to be bent for anyone, not even royalty-adjacent celebrities. But what really drove Meghan to attempt this audacious move? Was it a hunger for attention, a desire to reclaim public sympathy, or a calculated effort to dominate headlines in a year where her public image had been under intense scrutiny? Every maneuver she made, every glance at the entrance, every whispered instruction to her team, suggested a high-stakes game with rules only she seemed to know. The stakes were higher than mere appearance. This was about perception, about influence, about controlling a narrative in a media-saturated world. And Jason, whether he realized it or not at the time, had just become the central figure in that narrative. The tension reached its peak when Meghan attempted what insiders later called the red carpet paparazzi bolt-on, a maneuver designed to exploit photographers' desire for exclusive shots to create a public spectacle that would make her presence unavoidable. It was audacious, ingenious, and potentially catastrophic. She wasn't merely trying to walk the carpet. She was attempting to manipulate the very optics of the event, turning every lens into an unwitting accomplice. And yet, every plan has a countermeasure, and Jason Manford, in his role as host, quickly became the countermeasure that nobody anticipated. Imagine standing there, cameras flashing in your face, fans screaming, and suddenly realizing that someone is actively preventing you from doing what you came to do. That was Meghan's moment, a collision of expectation and reality that few witnesses would forget. For the first time that night, the carefully constructed image of calm confidence began to crack. Security personnel were now involved, staff whispered urgently, and Jason Manford stood at the center, calm yet unyielding, making a decision that would ripple across social media, tabloids, and royal gossip columns alike. As the cameras captured the drama, the audience at home could only watch in suspense. The story was unfolding in real time, and it was electric. Every angle, every flash, every whispered negotiation became part of a narrative larger than any one person. Meghan's reputation, Jason's integrity, and the sanctity of the royal variety performance were all on the line. Who would emerge victorious? Who would be humiliated? And more importantly, what did this mean for the balance of power between celebrity ambition and institutional tradition? And yet, even as the drama escalated, there were subtle undercurrents no one could see. Insiders hinted at whispers of royal displeasure, murmurs of staff disapproval, and hints that this event would not end with a simple red carpet confrontation. There was talk of behind-the-scenes maneuvering, private calls, and secretive meetings that could influence public perception for weeks to come. The stakes were not merely personal. They were political, social, and potentially even historical. The tension was palpable, the curiosity insatiable, and the audience, both live and virtual, hung on every moment. So, why does this story matter now? Because it's more than a single night on a red carpet. It's a reflection of modern celebrity culture, the tension between media, power, and tradition, and the unexpected ways in which individuals can influence events that seem scripted and untouchable. And at the heart of it, there's a question that lingers long after the lights dim. What lengths will someone go to when ambition meets opportunity? And who has the authority to stop them? Jason Manford's next move, Meghan's response, and the cascading reactions from paparazzi, fans, and the royal family themselves would set off a chain of events so dramatic that it would dominate headlines for days. The red carpet that night was no longer just a walkway. It was the epicenter of a scandal, a spectacle, and a story that would be told and retold, dissected and debated for months to come. And this is where our story truly begins, as the drama of the Royal Variety Performance 2025 unravels in ways no one could have predicted. The evening was set. The Royal Variety Performance 2025, a night steeped in decades of tradition, was unfolding with all the precision of a finely tuned orchestra. Celebrities arrived in glittering gowns and tailored suits, fans lined the streets, and photographers jockeyed for position like competitive athletes in a high-stakes game. Amid the glittering spectacle, one figure was quietly making her move, Meghan Markle. She had a plan, and it was audacious, bold, even reckless by some accounts. She wasn't merely attending. She was scheming to control the narrative, to seize the spotlight, and to dominate a stage that wasn't technically hers to command. From the outset, Meghan's intentions were clear to those closest to her. Sources later revealed that she had instructed her team to secure any ticket available at the last minute. Not a reserved seat, not an invitation extended through traditional channels, but any access possible. She had studied the red carpet, understood the flow of guests, and knew exactly where she wanted to appear for maximum impact. The energy was palpable, the stakes astronomical, and the tension was building with every passing minute. Imagine it. The streets of London alive with anticipation, flashes igniting the night, and Meghan moving with a purposeful grace that belied the chaos she was about to create. Fans craned their necks, curious but unaware of the brewing storm. Could she really pull this off? Was it sheer audacity or carefully calculated strategy? And what would happen when she came face to face with the gatekeepers of the evening, those tasked with ensuring tradition remained unbroken? Her team, composed of a mix of media strategists, publicists, and personal aides, worked frantically behind the scenes. If she wants in, she gets in, one insider reportedly whispered. There was a method to the madness. Photographers were subtly instructed, security routes were monitored, and every possible loophole in event protocol was explored. But even the most intricate plan has vulnerabilities. And this one would soon collide with Jason Manford, the host whose authority, charisma, and quick thinking would prove to be an unexpected obstacle. The first challenge came even before she reached the official entrance. Meghan had hoped to blend into the crowd, move past security with a subtle nod here, a whispered instruction there. But the cameras never lie. Paparazzi, sensing the potential for viral content, honed in on her presence with unrelenting precision. Flashbulbs popped like a relentless drumbeat, capturing each micro-expression, the determination in her eyes, the slight tension in her jaw, the controlled urgency in her movements. To the outside world, it may have looked like a celebrity making a glamorous entrance. To insiders, it was the opening salvo of a much larger confrontation. And then came the first ripple of chaos. Staff members, alerted to her arrival through discreet radio channels, began moving to intercept. Their objective was simple: ensure that the evening unfolded according to plan, without disruption. But Meghan was not a figure easily deterred. Every subtle barrier, every polite redirection was met with calculated adaptation. She pivoted, adjusted, and continued her pursuit. The audacity was striking, and the observers watching could not help but be drawn into the unfolding drama. At this moment, Jason Manford entered the equation. As host, he had spent months preparing for this event, understanding its rhythms, knowing the order of appearances, the timing of speeches, and the flow of entertainment. But even his meticulous preparation had not accounted for this. The moment he became aware of Meghan's attempt to infiltrate the event without official approval, he faced a split-second decision. Allow her through and risk undermining the integrity of the evening, or intervene and risk a public confrontation. His choice would define the night. Before the cameras even had a chance to focus fully, Meghan attempted what insiders would later call her strategic maneuver, a quick approach to the VIP entrance, relying on her celebrity aura to override protocol. It was bold, aggressive, and by many accounts, slightly desperate. She was leveraging every tool at her disposal: charm, notoriety, media influence, and the implicit weight of her public persona. Yet, in the midst of her calculated advance, the crowd's whispers shifted from admiration to tension. Something unprecedented was unfolding before their eyes. The surrounding crowd could feel the shift. Fans, unaware of the full stakes, cheered, expecting a routine celebrity moment. But security staff, event organizers, and photographers recognized the disruption. The night that had begun with elegant order was now teetering on the edge of chaos. Meghan's team was hustling, whispering instructions, signaling photographers, and recalibrating in real time. The choreography of celebrity entrance collided headfirst with the choreography of event security, and Jason Manford, positioned strategically near the center of the action, prepared to make his move. Even at this early stage, the tension was palpable. Meghan's eyes scanned the scene, assessing obstacles and opportunities, measuring who could be persuaded, distracted, or influenced. The paparazzi, meanwhile, were oblivious to the delicate negotiation occurring mere feet away. Flashbulbs illuminated every motion, immortalizing a moment of audacious ambition that would soon explode across social media. And then, just as the first faint whisper of confrontation reached the crowd, Jason stepped forward. It wasn't a dramatic flourish, not yet. It was a measured, deliberate decision, a presence that would become the pivot point of the night. Observers later described it as a moment of calm authority cutting through chaos. Meghan, intent on securing her path, had underestimated the power of presence, timing, and decisive action. Jason's movement was subtle but unmistakable, a physical and symbolic assertion that the rules of the evening would not be bent. At this point, the audience could feel the suspense growing. Could Meghan's influence overpower centuries of tradition? Could a single individual, a comedian tasked with hosting, truly stop her? The tension escalated with each step, each glance, and each whispered instruction between her team members. The interplay between ambition and authority became a drama unto itself, unfolding against the backdrop of a night meant for celebration. And just when it seemed the situation could be contained, Meghan attempted her most daring move yet. A sudden pivot toward the secondary entrance, exploiting a blind spot in security coverage. It was audacious, brilliant, and potentially catastrophic. The crowd collectively held its breath, flashes popping with almost musical regularity, capturing every angle of the unfolding drama. Behind her, staff scrambled, Jason recalibrated, and the story of the evening began to shift from performance to confrontation. This was the moment when the royal variety performance became more than a gala. It became a spectacle of human psychology, power dynamics, and unspoken rules. Every decision, from Meghan's calculated advance to Jason's poised intervention, set the stage for what would soon become a viral sensation. The red carpet, previously a symbol of glamour and tradition, transformed into a battleground of willpower, strategy, and public perception. So, what was Meghan hoping to achieve in this bold maneuver? Was it a victory in the eyes of the public, a symbolic reclaiming of influence, or simply the thrill of outmaneuvering authority? The truth, as it often is in such complex social chess games, was probably all of the above. But for now, the immediate question loomed largest. Would she succeed, or would Jason Manford, with his calm authority and quick thinking, block her in a way that would redefine the night's narrative entirely? The collision between Meghan's ambition and Jason's intervention would not only ignite social media storms and headline news, but would also have consequences that rippled far beyond the red carpet. Every photographer, every staff member, every bystander would soon witness a spectacle that combined audacity, humor, drama, and scandal in a way that only live events can produce. And as the first moments of confrontation began, the question on everyone's mind was simple. Who would emerge victorious, and at what cost? The moment Jason Manford realized what was unfolding in front of him, he knew this wasn't just another night of hosting. He had walked red carpets before, greeted royalty-adjacent celebrities, and managed chaos behind the scenes. But this was different. Meghan Markle, the Duchess-turned-global media sensation, was attempting to bypass protocol, infiltrate the royal variety performance, and turn a storied evening into her personal stage. And Jason, armed with nothing but authority, common sense, and an uncanny sense of timing, became the single person standing between tradition and upheaval. It began almost imperceptibly. From the stage entrance, he noticed her approach, the subtle advance, the poised yet purposeful stride, the entourage working behind her like a well-drilled tactical unit. Most hosts might have hesitated, unsure whether intervention was their place. But Jason's instincts kicked in immediately. He understood that some rules, no matter how ceremonial, could not be bent, not for fame, not for optics, and certainly not for someone accustomed to manipulating the media narrative. Jason's mind raced as he assessed the situation. On one hand, he was a comedian, someone whose job often involved diffusing tension, using humor to navigate awkward encounters, and keeping a crowd entertained. On the other, he now faced a high-stakes challenge. How to stop one of the world's most scrutinized public figures without causing an international spectacle, or worse, a viral disaster. He had mere seconds to act. The flashes from cameras bounced off the polished marble floor, and every eye in the vicinity seemed to hone in on this brewing confrontation. The decision, when it came, was simple but bold. Jason stepped forward, positioning himself between Meghan and the entry point she sought. It wasn't an aggressive move. It wasn't confrontational in the physical sense, but it carried weight. Presence can be as commanding as words, and Jason knew how to wield it. He radiated calm authority, projecting confidence that said, without speaking, "This is where the line is drawn." For Meghan, the moment was sudden and electrifying. She was accustomed to doors opening with a smile, a nod, or the silent cooperation of those eager to capture her image. But Jason's stance disrupted all expectations. The red carpet became charged with unspoken tension. Staffers froze mid-step, photographers instinctively raised their lenses, and the audience, a mix of celebrities, dignitaries, and VIPs, sensed that something historic was occurring. Jason's approach was strategic. He didn't need to confront her directly with words immediately. Instead, he maintained position, subtly guiding the flow of the crowd and signaling to security and staff. Every gesture mattered. a hand slightly raised, a step toward a doorway, a controlled pace in his movements. He became a human barrier, an immovable object in the path of audacious ambition. Observers later described it as almost cinematic, a quiet but undeniable stand of authority. Meanwhile, Meghan's eyes flickered with calculation. This wasn't someone easily circumvented. She assessed, recalculated, and pivoted, attempting to gauge the best angle to continue her advance. Jason noticed. Every micro-expression mattered. Every slight adjustment signaled intent. And in that split second, the chess game of the evening intensified. Who would make the next move? Who would gain the upper hand? Jason, ever the quick thinker, chose his words carefully. When he finally spoke, it wasn't with aggression or mockery. It was firm, direct, and disarming. "I'm afraid this isn't possible," he said, the tone measured, almost casual. "We have procedures, and tonight, they must be respected." For many, it seemed like a polite redirection. For Meghan, it was a roadblock she hadn't anticipated. The audacity of the Duchess, used to bending events to her favor, met the unyielding wall of protocol in a single, composed host. The surrounding crowd could sense the tension. Photographers snapped furiously, flashes illuminating every angle, capturing the drama in real time. Social media feeds began to buzz instantly, even before anyone knew exactly what had occurred. Livestream viewers watched in awe as the standoff unfolded. A world-famous figure attempting to bend rules, a host standing his ground, and an audience holding its collective breath. It was raw, it was electric, and it was unforgettable. What made Jason's intervention so remarkable wasn't simply that he stopped her. It was how he did it. There was no screaming, no theatrical gestures, no spectacle designed for media clout. He relied on poise, authority, and timing. He understood human psychology. People respond to confidence, to a calm assertion of control. And in that moment, Meghan's usual influence, her celebrity aura, her carefully honed public persona, was neutralized. But the story doesn't end there. Meghan, never one to retreat easily, attempted another maneuver, a pivot toward the secondary entrance, exploiting the smallest perceived weakness in security coverage. Yet Jason, anticipating such a move, adjusted instantly. Staffers, already primed by his presence, moved in perfect synchronization. It was as though he had orchestrated this in advance, anticipating every potential contingency. And then, for the first time that evening, Meghan's expression faltered. Observers later described it as a flash of frustration, almost imperceptible but undeniable. Her eyes scanned the crowd, her lips pressed in concentration, and a subtle shift in her posture betrayed the uncharacteristic reality. She had met resistance she hadn't calculated. The red carpet, her playground, had suddenly become a strategic minefield. Audience engagement was high. Every flash, every whisper, every subtle movement became fodder for speculation. Viewers at home could almost feel the tension in their living rooms, sensing the stakes, empathizing with the audacity of both players. The story wasn't just unfolding for those present, it was shaping the narrative for weeks to come. Social media would erupt, tabloids would dissect, and the public would debate endlessly. Had Jason Manford just pulled off the impossible? But the confrontation wasn't over. Meghan, resourceful and determined, tried another tactic, the paparazzi leverage. She subtly signaled photographers, hoping to turn them into unwitting allies, capturing angles that might force staff to yield. It was a masterstroke of media strategy. Bold, audacious, and perfectly in line with her previous public maneuvers. Yet Jason remained a step ahead, reading the room, predicting the angles, and subtly redirecting the flow of attention. It was a delicate dance of optics, authority, and timing, a high-stakes interplay that would define the night. In those moments, a larger lesson became clear: the power of presence, decisiveness, and calm authority can rival celebrity influence. Jason's intervention was more than a logistical success. It was a statement. He had disrupted the expected flow, maintained order, and ensured that the sanctity of the royal variety performance remained intact. But perhaps most importantly, he had proven that even the most carefully orchestrated public persona could be challenged, and sometimes stopped, by sheer awareness and integrity. And yet, even as the confrontation reached its zenith, whispers began circulating behind the scenes. Insiders hinted at potential royal discontent, murmurs of staff unease, and rumors that this confrontation might ripple far beyond the red carpet. Social media had already exploded with speculation, but the real consequences, the internal negotiations, the behind-closed-doors conversations, and the subtle power shifts, were just beginning. But what Jason couldn't predict, and what would send shockwaves through the night, was Meghan's next move. It was audacious, it was unexpected, and it would test not just his authority, but the very boundaries of red carpet protocol itself. The question on everyone's mind, both in attendance and across the globe, was simple. How far would she go? And could anyone, even Jason Manford, truly stop her? It was supposed to be a night of elegance, tradition, and celebration, a seamless blend of royalty, comedy, and entertainment. Instead, the Royal Variety Performance 2025 had erupted into a spectacle that no one could have scripted. At the heart of the chaos was Meghan Markle, moving with determination, and the paparazzi, who had caught wind of the unfolding drama and descended like a swarm. What had started as a subtle maneuver to gain access had transformed the red carpet into a battleground of flashbulbs, shouted directions, and whispered negotiations. The paparazzi were relentless. Every lens was trained on Meghan, every photographer jockeying for position to capture what would undoubtedly become the defining image of the night. There was an almost tangible electricity in the air, the hum of camera motors, the constant click of shutters, and the low murmur of murmuring fans and press. For Meghan, these photographers were both allies and obstacles. Each snap of the camera was a chance to manipulate perception, but each angle also carried the risk of exposing the vulnerability she sought to conceal. From the moment she attempted her audacious advance, the paparazzi frenzy escalated. They had been tipped off by insiders, had seen the unusual coordination of her team, and were eager to seize a scoop that would dominate news feeds worldwide. Flash after flash illuminated her every step. The flicker of determination in her eyes, the subtle tension in her shoulders, the graceful yet urgent pace of her movements. For the audience watching, it was almost cinematic, a collision of celebrity ambition and media chaos that made the event feel like a live thriller unfolding before their eyes. Meanwhile, Jason Manford maintained his presence with calculated calm. He was aware of the press swarm, the tension building between staff and Meghan's team, and the potential for viral spectacle. Yet his focus remained singular: to ensure that the integrity of the Royal Variety Performance was preserved. Every move he made was deliberate, each step positioning him strategically between Meghan and the entrance she sought. He was both anchor and buffer, a human dam holding back the torrent of ambition and media frenzy. Fans in the crowd sensed something extraordinary was occurring. The usual cheers of admiration were replaced with murmurs of surprise and curiosity. Onlookers craned their necks, eager to see the unfolding drama. What was happening? Was Meghan being denied entry? Was this a misunderstanding or an intentional blockade? The tension was electric, every eye in the vicinity drawn to the standoff. Even those unfamiliar with the details of protocol could feel the high stakes. The subtle clash of power and influence made the air itself seem charged. And then came the whispers. From the periphery, staffers exchanged urgent messages, ensuring security and photographers were in position. Texts and radio communications flitted across channels, a blur of coordination designed to keep the event under control. "She's trying to bypass the main entrance," one security officer murmured. "We need coverage at the side doors." The rapid-fire planning was almost imperceptible to the casual observer, but crucial in preventing the situation from spinning completely out of control. The paparazzi themselves were key players in this unfolding drama. Each had their own agenda, eager for the perfect shot, oblivious to, or perhaps complicit in, the subtler politics at play. Meghan's team attempted to exploit this, using strategic positioning and subtle signals to coax cameras into capturing moments that might favor her narrative. But Jason, aware of the leverage she sought, anticipated these maneuvers and subtly redirected attention, ensuring that the optics of the event remained within the boundaries of order. It was a chess game played in real time under the harsh glare of countless flashes. Chaos wasn't limited to optics. Physical congestion became a pressing issue. Fans pressed forward, curious and excited, while staff and security personnel worked tirelessly to maintain order. The clash of enthusiasm and regulation created a palpable tension, one that could have easily escalated into a full-blown incident. Yet through it all, Jason's calm authority remained the stabilizing force. He moved with intent, subtly guiding photographers, staff, and even Meghan's team, ensuring that no single element of chaos overwhelmed the evening. The interplay between Meghan's ambition and the paparazzi frenzy reached a peak when she attempted her secondary approach, a calculated shift toward a less crowded area of the red carpet. She knew the cameras were her allies, that capturing a viral image could force compliance, and she acted accordingly. But even this maneuver was anticipated. Jason, sensing the pivot, shifted his position, effectively neutralizing the path she sought to exploit. Photographers adjusted, the crowd responded, and Meghan was momentarily forced to pause, reassess, and recalibrate. At this stage, the evening had transformed from a simple celebrity event into a dramatic narrative with multiple layers. Meghan's audacity, Jason's authority, the press frenzy, and the subtle maneuvers of security and staff. It was a spectacle of human psychology, strategy, and ambition. Every micro-expression, every subtle step, and every whispered instruction carried significance. The audience, both live and virtual, became participants in a drama that was as unpredictable as it was electrifying. Humor and irony were also present. Observers noted the juxtaposition of Meghan's meticulously styled presence against the frantic, almost chaotic energy of the photographers. Flashbulbs lit up her perfectly styled hair and designer gown, while photographers stumbled over one another, some losing balance, others shouting directions. The spectacle was simultaneously tense and absurd, a reminder that even the most controlled environments can descend into unpredictable human theater. Audience engagement skyrocketed. Social media users posted updates in real time, sharing clips of the confrontation, speculating about motives, and debating who held the upper hand. Every flash, every step, every glance became fodder for discussion. Could she really be stopped? One viewer asked. Or is this just the beginning of a larger spectacle? The viral potential of the moment was undeniable, and the event quickly transcended its physical location, becoming a global narrative unfolding across feeds and screens worldwide. Despite the intensity, Meghan's determination never wavered. She adjusted her approach, recalculated the angles, and sought new opportunities for leverage. Every attempt carried both risk and reward. A successful maneuver could cement her presence on the carpet, while failure could amplify public scrutiny. Jason, in contrast, relied on calm decisiveness. He knew that one misstep could escalate the situation, but his poise and anticipation allowed him to maintain control. The tension reached a breaking point when Meghan attempted what insiders would later describe as the final photographic pivot, a bold move designed to force her presence into the camera's line of sight. Photographers, eager for exclusivity, captured the moment in exquisite detail. Yet Jason, ever the tactician, anticipated the shift, subtly adjusting positions and signaling staff to maintain control. The balance of power teetered, with every observer wondering, would this move finally break the stalemate, or would Jason hold firm? And just when it seemed the drama could not intensify further, the first murmurs of internal fallout began circulating. Staff whispered about royal displeasure, security officers shared concerns, and backstage sources hinted that Meghan's maneuver might have implications far beyond the red carpet. The tension was no longer just visual. It had become political, social, and personal. Everyone watching understood that this moment could define the narrative for weeks, even months, to come. Meghan's next move, the subtle alliances she tried to form with photographers, and the response from Jason Manford and his team would push the royal variety performance into unprecedented territory, a territory where audacity, strategy, and human instinct collided under the unforgiving glare of international scrutiny. The red carpet was no longer merely a walkway. It had become a battlefield, and every decision from this point forward would ripple through headlines, social media, and the world's perception of celebrity influence. The red carpet had descended into a frenzy, and while the cameras captured flashes of Meghan Markle's audacious maneuvers and Jason Manford's poised intervention, A quieter, but equally dramatic, story was unfolding behind the scenes. Staff members, security personnel, and event organizers were scrambling, exchanging urgent whispers and hurried texts, trying to maintain the delicate balance between spectacle and order. This was the untold layer of the night, the intricate choreography of human coordination that would determine whether the evening proceeded as planned or erupted into chaos. From the moment Meghan attempted her first unauthorized approach, staff members had been thrown into a whirlwind of decision-making. Security teams huddled near entrances, communicating via discreet earpieces, while event coordinators gestured urgently, directing photographers and VIP attendees. Every movement was calculated, every instruction carefully timed. "We've got to keep this under control," one staffer muttered, eyes darting toward Meghan's advancing team. "If she breaks through, it's a headline nightmare." The pressure was immense. For staff, the stakes were not just professional, they were personal. They had trained for decades to handle high-profile events, but few had encountered a situation quite like this. Meghan's strategy was audacious, precise, and unpredictable. Every attempt she made was met with split-second reactions, subtle physical barriers, polite verbal redirections, and a choreography of personnel designed to maintain order without creating a public spectacle. Observers later described it as a ballet of tension, one in which a single misstep could result in an international media storm. One insider recounted the surreal nature of the chaos. "It was like watching a chess game in real time, but with people moving pieces instead of pawns. Everyone had a role, and everyone knew that one wrong move could go viral instantly." The team had to anticipate Meghan's maneuvers before she even made them, predicting angles, reactions, and potential distractions. It wasn't just about logistics. It was about human psychology. Every glance, every pause, every subtle gesture had to be accounted for. Meanwhile, the internal gossip began to swirl. Staff members exchanged quiet speculations about Meghan's motives, the intentions behind her entourage's frantic signals, and even the implications for the royal family. "Is she trying to make a statement?" one whispered. "Or is this just another publicity stunt?" The questions hung in the air, charged with curiosity and tension. Everyone understood that they were witnesses to something extraordinary, a collision of celebrity ambition, protocol, and media spectacle. Humor emerged even in the tension. Security personnel joked quietly among themselves about the absurdity of the situation. The perfectly orchestrated red carpet now a stage for improvisation, Meghan attempting maneuvers worthy of a spy thriller, and Jason Manford standing firm like an immovable force of calm. One insider laughed later recounting the scene. "It was like a mix between Mission Impossible and a very polite version of Game of Thrones. We were all watching, waiting to see if someone would blink first." The humor was subtle, almost a coping mechanism for the heightened stress of the night. As the standoff continued, staff members began to leak details to trusted sources, a phenomenon that would later fuel rumors and social media speculation. One anonymous account described how whispers and observations from the carpet were being relayed in real time, painting a vivid picture of the unfolding drama. Messages flew between security teams, coordinators, and backstage organizers. "She's pivoting toward the side entrance. Jason is intercepting. Maintain positions. Photographers are getting distracted. Focus on flow." Each message was a tiny piece of the puzzle, a glimpse into the high-stakes world behind the glamour. Audience engagement could almost be felt from these insider leaks. Viewers at home, once the information reached social media, were able to participate vicariously in the drama, analyzing photos, speculating on intentions, and debating who held the upper hand. The staff's actions, intended to remain unseen, became a narrative in their own right, highlighting the delicate tension between public spectacle and backstage strategy. It was a rare moment where the invisible machinery of an event became just as compelling as the stars it was meant to showcase. One particularly chaotic moment arose when a member of Meghan's team attempted to negotiate directly with staff, asking for discreet access to a VIP entrance. The request, though polite, carried the weight of expectation and implied authority. Jason Manford, observing the negotiation, subtly intervened, ensuring the flow of the event remained intact. Staff members, trained to anticipate such maneuvers, executed a silent choreography, guiding personnel, redirecting photographers, and providing subtle barriers, all while maintaining an outwardly composed demeanor. The audience could not see the tension behind the smiles and formal greetings, but every heartbeat of the staff mattered. The insider accounts also revealed the psychological strain on staff. Many were accustomed to handling celebrity presence, but few had faced the combination of audacity, calculated risk, and media-savvy maneuvering that Meghan brought to the carpet. Security personnel had to think several moves ahead, anticipate potential flashpoints, and manage both the celebrity and the press without causing an incident. It was a delicate balancing act, and the staff were acutely aware that any misstep could be broadcast globally within minutes. Adding to the drama was the presence of the paparazzi, already in overdrive from previous maneuvers. Staff members had to coordinate camera positions, anticipate photographers' actions, and subtly guide their attention without creating friction. One insider described it as herding cats with cameras, a task made even more complex by Meghan's attempts to use the photographers as leverage. Every movement was scrutinized, every reaction analyzed, and every instruction had to be perfectly timed. The emotional beats of the night were palpable. Staff members reported feelings ranging from awe at Meghan's determination to frustration at the disruption of an otherwise orderly evening. They were participants in a narrative far larger than themselves, caught between protocol, celebrity ambition, and the public's insatiable appetite for spectacle. Some whispered anxiously about the potential repercussions. Others found humor in the absurdity of improvising amidst the chaos. The tension, humor, and emotional complexity created a story in its own right, a story often overlooked, yet integral to understanding the full scope of the evening. And yet, even as staff managed the unfolding drama, subtle leaks began to filter into public consciousness. Rumors of Meghan's maneuvers, Jason's interventions, and the reactions of other VIP attendees started circulating, providing glimpses into the tension behind the polished veneer of red carpet glamour. These leaks, combined with viral photos and videos, created a narrative that amplified the stakes and intensified curiosity. Viewers were not just watching a red carpet. They were witnessing an intricate drama where every detail mattered. But what staff and observers couldn't anticipate was Meghan's next move. She was calculating, relentless, and aware of every reaction. And while Jason Manford and the team executed their interventions with precision, she had one more maneuver in mind. One that would push the boundaries of protocol, media manipulation, and red carpet spectacle to a level nobody saw coming. The calm authority of the staff and Jason's interventions would soon be tested like never before, and the evening's narrative was about to take a dramatic turn. The red carpet was no longer simply a walkway. It had become a stage of strategy, ambition, and psychological warfare. Staff reactions, insider leaks, and the subtle choreography behind the scenes revealed a complexity that the audience at home could only partially grasp. Every whisper, every signal, every calculated movement mattered, and the next moments would determine not only who won the standoff, but how the world would perceive the unfolding spectacle. The question now loomed large. What would Meghan do next, and how would the staff, cameras, and Jason respond to the next audacious attempt? The tension was palpable, the stakes higher than ever, and the night was far from over. What happened next would change the narrative of the Royal Variety Performance 2025 forever, and no one, not even the seasoned staff behind the scenes, could have predicted it. The chaos on the red carpet didn't stay contained. Within minutes, the drama had exploded across social media, cascading like wildfire into feeds, timelines, and trending sections worldwide. What had started as an audacious maneuver by Meghan Markle and a calculated intervention by Jason Manford became an online spectacle of unprecedented intensity. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and even live streaming platforms lit up with posts, memes, clips, and commentary as millions of viewers witnessed the unfolding narrative. It began with the photographer's flashes capturing the standoff in real time. The angle of Meghan's determined stride against Jason's poised blockade created striking images that were instantly shareable. Every subtle glance, every careful adjustment of posture, Every whispered instruction in the crowd was immortalized in high-definition clarity. By the time the first official videos were posted, hashtags referencing the confrontation were already trending internationally. Social media users were quick to assign roles, framing the evening as a battle between audacity and authority. Fans and critics alike exploded with opinions. Some praised Meghan for her boldness, seeing her as a symbol of unyielding determination and celebrity power. Others applauded Jason's composure, lauding his ability to maintain order and uphold the sanctity of the event. Every comment, every share, every emoji became part of the narrative. The online discourse created a feedback loop. As the story gained attention, more users tuned in, amplifying the spectacle and ensuring that the evening would not be forgotten anytime soon. Memes appeared within minutes, some humorous, others biting. One viral post depicted Jason standing firm with a caption that read, "When you can't bend the rules, so you become the rules." Another showed Meghan, poised and graceful, with a caption jokingly calling her red carpet strategist extraordinaire. The humor wasn't just surface level. It highlighted the absurdity, tension, and stakes of the unfolding drama. The memes became a language through which the global audience could engage with the story, simultaneously lightening the tension and amplifying its impact. Emotional reactions ran deep. Viewers expressed shock, admiration, frustration, and disbelief, often within the same thread. "I can't believe someone actually stopped her," one user posted. "Who even does that?" another replied. Comments and shares created a digital arena where the standoff was analyzed in meticulous detail. The positioning, body language, timing, and even the expressions on the faces of bystanders became subjects of viral dissection. But social media's influence went beyond humor and commentary. It amplified the stakes, transforming the red carpet into a high-profile stage with global spectatorship. What might have been a contained event became a public spectacle where every detail mattered, where public perception was shaped not just by what happened in person, but by how it was presented online. Every movement, every glance, every decision by Meghan and Jason was magnified, scrutinized, and interpreted across millions of digital eyes. This digital amplification created new layers of tension. The royal variety performance was not just about live presence. It had become a viral battleground. Meghan's team scrambled to control the narrative, issuing subtle social media hints, posting carefully curated images, and attempting to redirect attention to favorable angles. Meanwhile, Jason's supporters flooded social platforms, praising his composure and highlighting the importance of protocol. The back and forth created a dynamic ecosystem where perception, virality, and strategy collided. The speed of social media also heightened emotional stakes. By the time Meghan adjusted her approach, memes, threads, and live reactions had already influenced public opinion. Audiences worldwide were forming judgments, speculating on motivations, and debating outcomes in real time. The immediacy of the digital response meant that every move had consequences far beyond the physical red carpet, impacting reputations, narratives, and even media coverage hours later. Humor, irony, and drama intertwined in a unique digital cocktail. GIFs of Meghan pivoting to different entrances went viral, alongside memes celebrating Jason's unflinching calm. Social media users created polls, quizzes, and commentary threads, effectively turning the standoff into a participatory event. Each post, share, and comment was a mini-drama, a microcosm of the night's tension. Audiences were not just observing. They were participating, shaping the story as it unfolded. And yet, amidst the humor and virality, serious discussions emerged. Media outlets began analyzing the situation, questioning boundaries between celebrity influence and event protocol, and debating the ethics of public spectacle versus private order. Experts weighed in, dissecting Meghan's strategy and Jason's intervention. Public relations professionals commented on the implications for future high-profile events. It became clear that the red carpet confrontation had ramifications far beyond a single evening. Even more astonishing was the speed at which insider leaks and social media commentary intertwined. Staff accounts, anonymous whispers, and snippets of behind-the-scenes drama began circulating online, providing context to what had initially appeared as a simple confrontation. Audiences were now able to piece together the narrative from multiple angles. Meghan's strategic maneuvers, Jason's calculated authority, and the subtle orchestration of staff behind the scenes. Every new post created a fresh layer of intrigue and speculation. Engagement was heightened by direct audience involvement. Users posted hypothetical scenarios. What would you do if you were Jason? Or, could you have bypassed that blockade? Others created interactive content, layering videos with annotations, slow-motion analysis, and commentary. Social media had effectively transformed the event from a passive spectacle into an active, global participatory experience. The story wasn't just being reported, it was being co-authored by millions of digital voices. And just when it seemed the narrative could not intensify further, a new wave of content emerged. Video clips showing Meghan's attempted maneuvers, juxtaposed with Jason's calm and deliberate interventions. These short, shareable clips became instant viral gold. Each frame, each reaction, each body language cue was dissected, debated, and reshared, creating a feedback loop of engagement that amplified the drama in real time. The stakes were no longer confined to the red carpet. Social media attention carried real-world consequences, public perception, reputational impact, and potential commentary from the royal family itself. What had begun as a physical confrontation had morphed into a multi-layered, global spectacle where perception, virality, and authority collided in ways nobody could have anticipated. Meghan's next maneuver, designed to regain leverage amid the viral frenzy, would test Jason's authority, staff coordination, and even the patience of the watching world. And when the subsequent footage emerged online, the reactions were instantaneous, explosive, and unpredictable. The digital stage was set for the next dramatic escalation, a move that would leave audiences around the world holding their breath. Meghan Markle's audacity had already turned the Royal Variety Performance 2025 red carpet into a stage of tension, spectacle, and speculation. But she wasn't finished. While Jason Manford held his calm, unyielding stance and the paparazzi scrambled to document every angle, Meghan's team activated what insiders would later describe as her paparazzi bolt-on plan. A contingency designed to exploit the very media frenzy she had helped ignite. It was calculated, daring, and precisely what made her both unpredictable and polarizing. The concept was simple yet ingenious. Instead of attempting another direct approach to the entrance, Meghan sought to manipulate the cameras themselves. By positioning strategically within the crowd, leveraging flashes, and signaling subtle cues to photographers, she aimed to force her presence into the frame, creating the illusion that she belonged on the red carpet, even if security and Jason blocked the literal physical pathway. In effect, she was turning media optics into her weapon, a digital loophole that could amplify her influence without defying protocol outright. Her team moved with quiet efficiency. Publicists whispered into earpieces, directing photographers to specific vantage points. Security officers subtly adjusted their positions, ensuring Meghan's movements remained contained but visible. Every flicker of the camera was a calculated opportunity, every lens an unwitting ally. The red carpet had transformed from a controlled ceremonial space into a dynamic theater of optics, where appearance, perception, and reality blurred. Audiences both live and online were captivated. As clips and images surfaced, the world could see Meghan striking poses that suggested authority, poise, and entitlement. Despite the obstruction in her path, she wasn't just present. She was performing the idea of presence, manipulating perception to create a narrative that suited her agenda. Social media users were quick to amplify the spectacle, with posts analyzing angles, flashes, and body language. The interplay between physical reality and mediated image had reached a level rarely seen at such events. Jason Manford, always attuned to the unfolding situation, recognized the strategy immediately. He understood that stopping a physical approach was one thing, but neutralizing a media-driven narrative required subtlety, foresight, and composure. He adjusted his position slightly, maintaining authority while anticipating Meghan's optical maneuvers. Security staff were briefed in real time, instructed to subtly shift lines of sight and camera angles without drawing attention. It was a high-stakes dance where every step, glance, and gesture mattered. The psychological intensity was palpable. Meghan was attempting to assert dominance, leveraging fame and public perception against protocol and tradition. Jason, in contrast, relied on calm authority, quick assessment, and an understanding of human behavior. Both were playing a game of strategy, one using media optics and the other using presence and institutional knowledge. Observers later described it as a battle between influence and control, a contest where the tools were as subtle as a glance and as powerful as public perception. Humor threaded through the tension. Staffers whispered jokes about Meghan's audacious plan. "She's basically using photographers as pawns," one security officer muttered. Another added, "I've never seen anyone choreograph a media frenzy like this before." The irony wasn't lost on those witnessing the standoff. What was meant to be a celebratory entrance had become a calculated performance, complete with optics manipulation, strategy, and high-stakes improvisation. Audience engagement intensified. Fans and critics alike dissected the situation on social media, sharing clips of Meghan's carefully orchestrated poses, speculating on the intent, and debating whether the paparazzi bolt-on was genius or desperate. GIFs, memes, and commentary proliferated, amplifying the drama far beyond the red carpet. Every subtle movement by Meghan became a topic of discussion, every repositioning a new thread for analysis. The evening had evolved into a participatory spectacle, where global audiences were co-authors of the narrative. Meanwhile, tension within Meghan's own team escalated. Coordinating the contingency plan required precise timing, subtle signaling, and flawless execution. Publicists had to ensure photographers were positioned correctly, security had to avoid obstructing critical shots, and Meghan herself had to maintain poise while executing her strategy. Insider reports later described the scene as a highly orchestrated ballet of optics, strategy, and nerves. Every decision carried weight. One poorly timed signal or misaligned camera angle could unravel the entire maneuver. As the contingency plan unfolded, Jason remained the calm center. Observers noted his ability to anticipate, adjust, and maintain authority without appearing reactive. He subtly guided photographers, provided discreet barriers when needed, and maintained a presence that reinforced the rules of the evening. His interventions were measured, almost imperceptible, yet devastatingly effective in countering Meghan's carefully calculated strategy. The dynamic between the two, her audacity versus his composure, created a tension that was almost tangible, electric, and impossible to ignore. The stakes were amplified by the audience, both live and online. Every subtle interaction, glance, and movement was captured, shared, and analyzed in real time. Social media algorithms rewarded viral content, spreading clips of the confrontation to millions within minutes. The paparazzi bolt-on plan, brilliant as it was, now risked backfiring. For every advantageous shot Meghan secured, Jason's authority and staff coordination subtly corrected the narrative, ensuring that the optics did not completely override protocol. The interplay between intention and intervention reached a climax when Meghan attempted a final pivot, an audacious repositioning designed to force the cameras into capturing her in a favorable light. The flashes ignited like fireworks, fans held their collective breath, and social media exploded. Yet Jason, anticipating the maneuver, subtly adjusted his positioning, signaling staff and creating a controlled flow that neutralized the intended effect. The tension had reached a fever pitch. Every frame, every lens, every second mattered. Humor and irony persisted in the background. Staff and observers whispered about the audacity of turning the media itself into a weapon, and yet, they could not deny the skill involved. "It's like watching a chess match with cameras," one insider joked. The situation was absurd, tense, and utterly captivating, a combination that would define the night and dominate social media for days. And yet, even as the contingency plan played out, a new variable emerged. Meghan's next move would combine audacity, strategy, and miscalculation in a way that even Jason could not have anticipated. The calculated optics maneuvers were about to collide with real-world protocol, media scrutiny, and staff intervention, creating a moment that would escalate the standoff to unprecedented levels. The question now loomed large. Could Meghan succeed in forcing her presence through optics alone, Or would Jason's authority, staff coordination, and quick thinking render the paparazzi bolt-on plan ineffective? The answer would unfold in the next moments, a dramatic escalation that would push the Royal Variety Performance 2025 into uncharted territory and set the stage for a viral spectacle that no one would soon forget. While the red carpet swirled with flashes, whispers, and the relentless energy of paparazzi cameras, an equally tense drama was unfolding behind closed doors. Inside the Royal Variety Performance venue, palace aides, advisors, and senior staff convened in hushed urgency, assessing the potential fallout of Meghan Markle's audacious attempts to infiltrate the event. The whispers were subtle but charged with weight. This was not just a celebrity maneuver. It was a challenge to centuries of protocol, a calculated disruption that threatened to reverberate far beyond the night's performance. One palace source later described the scene as a controlled panic. Advisors moved quickly between rooms, coordinating security, communicating with event staff, and attempting to anticipate every possible consequence. Every phone call, every urgent message, every whispered conversation carried a hint of anxiety. It was clear to those inside that Meghan's actions, combined with Jason Manford's steadfast interventions, had created a scenario unprecedented in the history of the Royal Variety Performance. The primary concern among palace officials was twofold: preserving the integrity of the event and managing public perception. Royal gatherings like this are meticulously choreographed, a delicate balance of tradition, celebrity engagement, and media optics. Any deviation, especially one involving a globally scrutinized figure like Meghan, could escalate into a media crisis. Staff and advisors worked tirelessly to ensure that what was happening on the red carpet did not translate into a wider scandal that could damage the reputation of the royal family. Sources revealed that senior aides were monitoring every development with intense scrutiny. Security teams were instructed to observe discreetly, ensuring Meghan's movements remained within safe boundaries. Meanwhile, communication staff were preparing statements, not yet to be released, but as contingencies should images, video, or reports reach the press.